Hello and welcome, everyone. Today, I want to welcome you all here to this beautiful, beautiful day as we have a special guest. And I know you are all as excited about him as I am. The great Mike Dooley. You may know him from his powerful work as the creator of Notes from the Universe and best-selling author who has published 17 books, and his work has been published in 27 languages. Wow, Mike, that's amazing. He lives and teaches the art of living deliberately and creating consciously, having inspired audiences in 156 cities, 42 countries, on 6 continents. He was one of the featured teachers in The Secret and is the founder of Tut's Philosophical Adventures Club, home to over 1.2 million online members. Today, I want to engage with you. I want you to drop your comments in the chat and let's explore this journey of transformation together. Let's awaken, rise, and expand our consciousness with Mike Dooley. Hello, Mike. It is so great to have you here today with us.
Thank you for making this possible, Dipal. I'm honored.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here and talk about the Great Awakening. And I knew right away that I had to invite you to share your incredible work with our audience because I know I followed you for years. And back in Wayne Dyer, when Wayne Dyer was around and Louise Hayes, and I just have loved everything that you've brought to the forefront. Your messages have left like this lasting impact in my life. And I knew instantly that more people needed to hear them. And now, with your latest book, The Great Awakening, you're giving us even more reasons to tune in because who doesn't love a good awakening, right?
Yeah, this is one that's been long in the making, prophesized for millennia.
Yeah, wow. I'm so and I love the book. So thank you so much. I know it is right now people can pre-order it and we'll talk about it in just a little bit as to how our viewers can pre-order it. But I want to ask you because right now many people might also be wondering the same thing, that we're going through some chaotic times, right? Like we have politics, we have global the global what do you call it?
Warming?
Thank you. I'm like, what do we call it? So yeah, the global warming, we have so many things that feel very chaotic. Our minds are chattering and we're feeling restless.
Hmm.
Why is this happening? It feels like, is it the end of times, the apocalypse? What is happening in our world right now?
It is those things, but I have a different light to cast on them. In fact, it's very simply the evolution of consciousness for our planetary civilization, which can be tracked, pegged, and anticipated, as was done with uncanny accuracy by Nostradamus, the Book of Revelation, the end of the Mayan calendar. We were all scared about that. But these things equally signify a brand new beginning. And what they tuned into, of course, was our being driven heretofore by our physical senses alone, letting logic and ego drive the bus,
Right.
where ultimately this is not the optimal way forward. This is not the optimal operating system for any of us to be using. And it took this long, and no marks against us. This is how evolution goes with consciousness, that you feel at first like life is happening to you.
Yeah.
You feel like a bystander. You use your physical senses alone to pass judgment on the world, other people, your journey. And overwhelmingly, you're driven by fear.
Mm,
That's who we have been, and to a large degree, who we still are.
yeah.
Yet, we have purchased some latitude through hard work, dedication, thousands of years under our belt, where many have the ability to become armchair philosophers and ask the bigger questions. What's the flipping point? Why are we here? Do the answers I've been given have been given so far, do they add up? Do they make sense? Do they empower me? Or should I continue believing that we were born bad and broken, here to
Yeah.
be tested, judged, and sentenced? Silly ideas, no offense meant to anybody, that never really made any sense.
Right.
But now that we've created this space slowly over millennia to rethink what's going on, we're starting to see that if we stand far enough back from any equation, there is order, there's purpose. Lo and behold, I'm a creator. I'm powerful. My power comes from my focus. What I think about, I bring about, good, bad, or ugly. Yet, I've noticed that a lot of the things I feared and worried about didn't come to pass, begging further explanation. The aha moment for me was, given our divine lineage, I'm super spiritual, zero religious. I don't think those two things typically go well together.
No.
Um, but I was like, if I'm a powerful creator, if it's my focus, the power of positive thinking, the art of creative visualization, how come I don't get equal or greater portions of my negativity as I do my positivity? And again, anybody can ask this. Anybody will see the same is true for them. We've all had a lot of deep fears that never came to pass. Like, hey, Mike Dooley, if thoughts becoming things is as predictable as gravity, why not? Why not all that bad stuff instead of just some of that so-called bad stuff? The answer is, if one can grasp that there can only be divine mind,
Mm.
divine intelligence, or call it source energy, or call it all that is, if there is this awareness, if you will, it would have to be not only running the show or creating the sun, the moon, and the stars and 100 million species on planet Earth. I mean, this is not random, all right? This is well thought out. Then everything must be made of that divine intelligence. Everything is a God particle, if you will, whether it's a mote of dust, or a lizard, an earthworm, an elephant, or you and I. We are purely, entirely divine beings. What's the alternative? That, like, well, there's a bunch of God, divine divinity here, and then everything else, well, that stuff's just always been there. Really doesn't make sense. A lot of goblins and spooks there. Nobody really knows. But over here, we've got God. There can only be God. And I'm using that word maybe to grab attention, not wanting people to rely on old definitions of God. Call it source energy, call it divine intelligence. It's not only what stirs us and moves us and delivered us here, but of course, divine intelligence only goes where divine intelligence wants to go. It doesn't, well, I made a planet out in the nether reaches and I better go there and see what's happening. It's like, nah, it only goes where it most wants to go, and as what and who it most wants to go as. And that includes us. And so we were careening in and out of reality creation and multi-universes and alternate dimensions and densities. And here we are. We found this bastion of perfection whirling through the cosmos, planet Earth. And we said, yeah, that's the next stop. And with that magnificent energy, that eternal brilliance being our turbochargers and everything else about us, because nothing can't be pure God, it's no wonder that when we think thoughts in alignment with what I will call truth, I do believe it's there. I do believe it's absolute. I do not say it's different from one person to the next. There goes all your power. The truth is, we are of the divine, by the divine, for the divine. Our thoughts become things. And when we think thoughts in alignment with the magnificence of who we really are and what brought us here, the adventure, the beauty, the infinite possibilities. Those thoughts become things far more easily than when we think, oh, I'm stupid and nobody likes me and it probably won't work out and everybody wants the same thing as me and what's the point? And it's all random and you need a bunch of luck. Those are the lies. And though we're powerful enough to create experiences where they seem to play out, those kind of thoughts pale in comparison to the power and potency of thoughts in alignment with truth. I'll probably figure it out. I'll probably get it. I'll probably fall in love and be loved. I'll probably live in wealth and abundance. I'll find my groove. I'll get it on. I'll love my life. Hell to the yes. So, so there's another this is kind of what I'm saying is through deductive reasoning and simply witnessing what is and the beauty and the power and our own inclination to thrive, we can start piecing together pieces of this puzzle and realize there's more going on than meets the eye and the physical senses and start being led by our heart and love far more than letting our mind, our ego, and intellect be the only bus driver. And man, will our experience blossom and bloom. And this is exactly what's happening right now, Dipal. People are waking up, hence the Great Awakening. We've paid our dues. We've had incarnation after incarnation of massive, massive suffering. Many, too many, still suffer to this day. But we all have that ability to tune in and make observations. And why do different people have different luck? Why do people who are not as talented as some yet prevail more mightily? It's like their thoughts, their words, their behaviors are in alignment with the magnificence and truth of their presence here. This is what the Great Awakening is all about. It was prophesized because it was seen that we would so emerge from the swamp and the darkness of ignorance that the day would come when there would be a final battle. Armageddon. Final because ignorance is on its last legs. Contrary to appearances, and we can talk about the chaos in the world, ignorance is dying out. There's just too much light, too much transparency, too much cooperation, too much love happening everywhere and in almost every heart for ignorance to lead us any further. And so the prophecy of Armageddon it was later twisted to mean the end of time. Just like the Mayan calendar ending, nobody connected the dots and said, well, a new one's beginning. A one of light and love and joy and cooperation. And so the other words, apocalypse, that's the final destruction, or better, deconstruction of these old intellect-based systems that never really worked as they could have worked. And so they are going to fall to the wayside. Systems of government, systems of currency, systems of education, they served a purpose in our primitive fear-based lives, but there are better systems based on the heart and equality and mutual respect and true equal opportunity that will be replacing the old deconstructed systems. It's already happening with currencies, and it's going to likely inevitably happen in every other area of our life. It's boiling down to the decisions that each and every one of us individually are making these days, whether it's your vote or generosity and kindness, gratitude and appreciation, enjoying your life. This is what's happening. And by all accounts, and this is the book, I interviewed 6 channels, some really impressive perspectives from the spirit realm, and in some cases, ETs who have had civilizations that have been through what we are now going through. And they're whispering encouragement. They're here as truly interstellar brothers and sisters They can't make decisions for us. They're not going to intervene other than to whisper in our ears.
Mm.
And when we're ready, they will share all they've learned in their journeys. And that's a tangent I'd love to take, but we don't have to go there. But but yeah, this is that time, and the prophecy makers really nailed it. We're living through it. It's an incredible privilege,
Mm.
and really and truly, despite the seeming chaos and actual chaos, um, we're on the cusp of a golden era that we will see the beginnings of in our lifetimes.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. And I feel like even children are awakening. I think they're being born awakened.
They
Uh,
are. They
and,
are.
and I want to give every child your book. But I feel like we need to kind of go back just a little bit and explain what is awakening. And I would love to know, what was your awakening, and do we have more than one awakenings?
Oh, that's a question that I posed to some of the contributing channels to the book, The Great Awakening.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think in my initial enthusiasm and enthrall, where in the past 5 years especially, but in my whole life, I've kind of wondered about the stories of ascended masters,
Yeah.
and their comments that the things and miracles they perform, I mean, outright Jesus-like miracles, that we will all do
Yeah.
and greater. Their words. And I kind of, I guess, made stuff up in my grasping for clarity. I kind of thought it would be like this one moment, a burning bush moment like Moses had, and like total epiphany and revelation, and oh my God, I see clearly now. I feel nothing but love. I am
Yeah.
omnisciently powerful. What I've come to find is that, and this is not the answer I really wanted, but
Right.
it is a process. There will be a lot of burning bush moments,
Yeah.
that anybody is alive now, by and large, they have paid their dues. They have had their epiphanies in other incarnations and earlier times in this very lifetime, their baptism, if you will. And they are ripe to step into greater truths and awareness, possessing a clarity they've never had. And this is happening all over the world, and discussions I'm having, my website, the subscribers of Notes from the Universe. I mean, this
Yeah.
would have been blasphemy, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're celebrated, and they give people um, traction and ideas that they are ready for. When the student's ready, the teacher appears. I've seen teachers to this day appearing in my life when I'm finally ready, and sometimes maybe I get to be a teacher. Like you said, the children are being born. They're high vibe beings. They just know stuff, and so it's not a single thing, this awakening. It's not a moment in time. There can be huge leaps forward.
Mm.
And all things are certainly possible. But generally, as I was just speaking with Lisa Royal Holt, she channels Sasha. She has said many times that number one, being in these sacred, holy jungles of time and space is such an extraordinary, crazy cool privilege. Like,
Mm.
so don't be in a hurry to get out. And
You're right.
number two, um, there's inner work that needs to be done, and it's not hard, and you don't have to prostrate yourself and do without, but you have to look at your shadow, in her words. And
Yeah.
each of the channels has a slightly different perspective, which I felt really refreshing.
Yeah.
But the inner work is, love all of you,
Yeah.
yourself. Love the shadow, love what you feel sad about, love what you regret, approve of yourself.
Yeah.
Um, find those repressed emotions, whether it was something you bottled in that was personal, or something that you dealt with concerning someone else, and now
Yeah.
you've got a grudge or anger or resentment. Or it's like, look, face it, release it, move on, because opportunity never stops knocking. There's enough birds for all the worms, not just the early birds.
That's right.
This is a banquet, a feast
I love
living
it.
in these sacred jungles of time and space.
Yeah.
So the inner work is really face whatever you've been resisting.
Right.
Face what your lions and tigers and bears are. If you've got fear in your life, it means you're hot on the path.
Yeah.
So say, hello, fear, my dear friend, you've shown up again. What do you have to teach me today? And go there, journal, contemplate, meditate. I call it contemplative thought, which has been my ticket in my life. If I dwell on something long enough, from every angle, ask for help from above or where whoever's in my life, and really tune into the situation, I get illumination. And I'm not unique. Everybody has had those moments where in one moment you were confused,
Right.
and then the next, or the next day, or the next month, you have total clarity, and you're like, "Whoa, like where did that come from?" But that's the inner work. And so, we can't deny ourselves in any way, shape, or form, whether they're emotions or things that we're not proud of. You
Right.
know, each of us have done the absolute best we could with what
Yep.
we knew at the time. We did as God would have done in our shoes. In fact, God was in our shoes and has never left our shoes. We're all experiencing this unfoldment. We're all recovering from pain suffered, fear maintained, everyone. And and when we can do that, and when we can begin seeing that we're all in this as part of the one, that we are all different aspects of divine mind, that everyone's doing the best they can, everyone's scared. When we start defining ourselves and automatically include those that we interact with and ultimately the world around us, that's ascension. That's illumination. And that's when love blooms in your heart and becomes your main, as it should have been, operating system. And we can relegate the logic and the ego. They've got a place, they've got a valuable
Oh
place,
yeah.
but they shouldn't be driving the bus.
Yeah. And one of the things you said, we have to die down, the pain and the fear. But I feel like if we're more open to receiving those divine answers, those universal answers, and letting them in, right? Because I think even before when I started all this work and, trying to allow that information to come through and then taking action upon that, right? That's the thing. We have to
Oh,
take
yes.
action because when these doors open up, they're saying, take action,
Yeah.
right? So I love
Yeah.
that. And it's all about, do you feel like what we're talking about here is really channeling the information? Because I know a lot of these contributors in your book, like Matt Kahn, Sarah Landon, and some of the other great contributors, they channel information.
Yeah.
So can you explain channeling a little bit?
Yeah, it has been around forever. In fact, look at the Bible, Luke and Mark and Matt, and it's believed by the followers of the Bible, and I think it can be fairly said to be true that those were not the words of the ego possessing Matt, Mark, John. It was followers would say the word of God. It's
Yeah.
scripture. It's God's word, but it was channeled through these folks. When when we say channel these days, I think it means much the same. It's getting in a slightly altered state. Some people are really good at this. Some people have worked hard at developing this. Some people don't consciously do it, but do it anyway. But when we can get into a slightly altered state with will, desire, intention to bring forth the purity of truth to serve others as well as ourselves, we can actually tune in to concepts and ideas that were never ours to begin with, not egoically speaking. And the contributors of the book, they're pictured on the back there, all go into a trance. Matt Kahn is the exception. He is a non trance channel, but what he shares is so profound. And from this deeper place, this zone, if you will, they are able to bring forth the highest within their reach. And it might be their higher self, or it might be members of their soul family. Lisa Royal Holt brings in Sasha, who hails from the Pleiades. I know that sounds crazy, but when you start listening and reading what Sasha has to say, it is so beautiful. It is just filled with love, compassion, and empathy for what we're going through, understanding it because of what they went through. That's what channeling is. And as I've said several times now, ETs, if there's only the divine and everything is God, that would mean extraterrestrials as well, if you believe in
Right.
them. And how could you not believe in them when there's 10 sextillion stars? Did you know there's like 300 billion planets
Yeah.
in the Milky Way galaxy alone?
Yeah.
So, if you multiply that by how many galaxies there are, 100 billion more galaxies, it's like, of course, there's more life. I mean,
Yeah.
the Great Awakening has been likened by, I think it was, uh, Sasha, or it may have been Vagrian, channeled by Jesse Herman. At one point in the early development of any planetary system, the tribes or the indigenous folks are scattered far and wide, and they don't know of each other.
Right.
And they naturally would assume, well, we're people, and everything else is either planet or animal. And then, as you would expect, and you could probably prophesize if you're deeply tuned in spiritually and psychically, at what point any particular planet might get to a place where, through brilliance, technology, craftsmanship, engineering, they're going to start discovering their own planet and realize they're not alone. And that'll be a mind-boggling, maybe even difficult point in their journey. But when you get past it and you can communicate with the others, and you've already hopefully exhausted your fear and warrior mentality, you're going to find out you're better together than apart, as
Yeah.
we are finding out on planet Earth only at this late stage. And the same thing is true of life on other planets. It's like, well, of course we're the only ones. It's cold and dark out there.
Right.
Yeah, of course the Earth is flat. Of course it is. It's like, the things that were so obvious before may never have been true. And
Yeah.
so now we're finding out that there is this brotherhood, and that they are all equally 100% of God, by God, pure God. They are literally our spiritual brothers and sisters, just as every single person alive today on planet Earth is a spiritual brother and sister of you and I. That doesn't mean that they're all making the best decisions. That doesn't mean that they're holier than I. And the same thing for our interstellar family. I'm sure some are a little wiser than others. Some are a little more savvy. Some are a little more evolved. I mean,
Right.
just statistically, you could fairly say half are more advanced and half are less. Probably
Yeah.
just guess we're in the middle. I've
Yeah.
heard some of the channels say it's much more like we are in the bottom third on planet Earth. When it comes to spiritual and the evolution of consciousness, we are in the bottom third.
Yeah.
But what has come to pass is that some of these channels that have provided me with some of the most reassuring and loving pieces of advice shared in the book are actually part of the soul family of Lisa or Daniel
Yeah.
or Bashar. And that's who they channel. They channel ETs. But I would say to anybody who is rattled by that, just, whether you find them on YouTube or you read this book, hear what they have to say. And I bet you it'll blow your socks off. It is filled with beauty. It is filled with love. They're not interested in our DNA. They're not interested in rare minerals. They're interested in seeing us make a transition smoothly and successfully the way they once did thousands and thousands of years ago. They know what we're going through. And then they have all said, I should just get this out as well, that the chaos, I asked the council, channeled by Sarah Landon, like, and this was years ago before I got a little bit wiser, like why do things look so bad right now? Like worse than they have ever looked. The divisiveness, the animosity, the
Right.
sheer hatred between political parties sometimes.
Yeah.
And the council replied, well, we understand what you're seeing, but there's more to be seen. And from our perspective, we're happy to tell you that never at any point in your Earth civilization has there been this much love, this much cooperation, this much beauty, hearts opening wider than they have ever opened before. But we tend to focus on the sensational. That's how our news programs make the most money for their shareholders.
Yep.
And we desensitize to what stirs in our own hearts and
Yeah.
in our own communities, and the love and the conversations we're having in the United States and abroad with racism and color and prejudice and gender identification. These channels have all said the same thing. That turmoil, angst, and resistance and animosity has always been there below the surface. But now that the vibrations and energies are rising and there's more light and love and discussion, it's boiling out over the top, which means we are more poised now to heal
Yes.
these the damage done than at
Yeah.
any other point in our civilization. I mean, it wasn't until we got smartphones in everyone's hand that we realized for the last 100 years, young black men have been shot in the back at point blank range again and again and again, to a shocking, sickening degree. But we're talking about it. And now we're talking about all the things that have brought white people and black people and people of color
Yeah.
to the pain and suffering that spilled over into the behaviors we've witnessed and judged too quickly. And so this spilling over of the resistance and the animosity and even the hatred is part of the cleansing and clearing that has been long overdue. And even speaking of COVID, because this book project arose in 2022 when I did an online course and we were just emerging from COVID. So the question often came up from the thousands in the audience, like, speak on COVID. And to
Yeah.
the last one of them, it marks the beginning of one of the greatest healings our planet has ever experienced. A healing. This
I believe it.
plague marked the beginning of one of the greatest healings because
Yeah.
every one of us can attest to not only were our minds blown that suddenly we were sequestered into our homes, but
Yeah.
we all were forced, because we weren't going to do it without being forced, to re-examine our priorities,
Yeah.
to re-examine our beliefs, to re-examine our values. And that was so sorely needed
Yeah.
to
Even
bring
our
about.
passion and purpose, you know?
Exactly. So we are seeing a lot of chaos, strife, and suffering, um, but it is the airing out, the final airing out before we fully move into this golden age that we will live to see. It's going to be rapid. There will be deconstruction. There
Yeah.
will be new systems. There will continue to be chaos. Um, but when seen in the light of truth, there is so much more to be optimistic and excited about
Yeah.
than to be afraid of.
Well, do you think that in order to cleanse and really help the world, because a lot of us, we're empathic, we're highly sensitive, and we believe in helping humanity because many of us are healers. And, we're here sending our light out into the world. Do you think that meditation is important? And how important do you think meditative practices are?
Well, they all highly recommend it. And I think spiritual leaders, metaphysicians
Okay.
speak to the virtue of developing a practice where you tone down that runaway train of thought and logic in your mind. I mean, clearly, as Sasha said, Mike, you're addicted to logic and the rational mind. And so meditation is one way of calming that frenzy of thought and creating space
Right.
for a finer, more subtle indicator of best next steps that
Mm.
would come through intuition, impulse. This is our pipeline to our higher self from the heart. And so, yes, meditation, could not more highly recommend it. But I know that it vexes so many people.
It
So,
does.
like,
That's why I
like
wanted them to hear from you.
so I think and it's I'm one of those vexed people. I still spend about 45 minutes every morning in the dark before the house wakes up,
Yep.
just creating that calm and quiet and just inviting whatever comes in. And with a chilled attitude like that, I enjoy it.
Yes.
But contemplative thought, as I shared earlier, is another vehicle to discern and identify and attract truth. Following your highest joy, as co-author Daryl Anka channeling Bashar said, follow your highest excitement. Sarah Landon channeling the council said, love will take you all the way. In this great awakening, love will take you all the way. So you could, if you're not a meditator, not drawn to it, doesn't work for you, don't like it, it's just one way. And I think all of us would be best served by really engaging life. I think that's where I've learned the most,
Yeah.
facing your fears, going out in the world, pressing the flesh, asking for help, knocking on doors, turning over stones, starting a business, failing at a business, starting another business, working for somebody, and serving. Neil Donald Walsh wrote in his book, um, Awaken the Species, a
Ah,
brilliant, brilliant book, right on point, right on this topic. It was his fourth and final installment of the Conversations with God series, while he does have many other awesome books that he's channeled. But God said in that book that, you all have your careers and you all have your things to do and you all have your businesses to run. But
yeah.
really, you're just helping one another. That's all you're doing. You're just helping one another. Whether you're a titan or a volunteer, an entrepreneur, an employee, you're just out there every single day helping other people. And the truth and beauty of that really took my breath away. And speaking to what you were mentioning, you know, opening your heart, being of service, um, it gets cooler and cooler. I know I was pushed in that direction as a young Catholic. Put the needs of others before your own, which never
Yeah.
made
Same
any
here.
sense to me, still
Yeah.
does not make any sense to me. But the gold there is that when you are of service, you are helping. And the person you're helping is really another part of you. And
Yeah.
you are not only receiving what they're receiving in ways that we can't quite wrap a human mind around, but one day we will. Whatever you give, you are receiving exactly that. But more, when you are out there helping other people, even if you're getting paid for it, even if you're getting filthy
Yeah.
rich, there's no such thing as filthy rich. There's nothing unspiritual about wealth. But if you're out there helping people or giving donations or volunteering, that creates a vibration and installs a belief system that says, I am provided for. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It's on me. I got this. I am provided for. Whether you knew you were saying that or not. And you ought to be doing it in the direction of your bliss and your highest excitement, helping who and when and how you are driven to help. And then it's this beautiful dance. You are an equal receiver, but more, you're creating this energy, this belief system, this vibration that you live in a generous, giving world. And thereby, you will live in a generous, giving world. I think biblically, and there's a lot of beautiful lines in the Bible and a lot of beautiful concepts in the Bible. You receive 7 times over or
Yep.
70 times over. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not kinda, it's not sort of, and it's not waiting for you in heaven. You're going to get payday here.
Yeah.
And it astounds me the more I give, either through my career and vocation as a teacher and a writer, or through charity and philanthropy. It's crazy how fortunes can turn
Yeah.
and double. And what comes to mind, I forget who said it. I know the audience will know. You know, when it finally comes in, when you're, I think it's Emerson or Thoreau, something to the effect that when it finally comes in, you will wonder where it was during all of those lean years. Because
Yep.
it'll come in such a torrent, in such a way that, like, and I have literally said in the last 10 and 15 years, is like, what did I ever do to deserve so much beyond my dreams, beyond my expectations? It's like, and it's always better than you dreamed it would be. You know, whether it's
Exactly.
love or friendship or service or money, it's like, oh man, I didn't even know it would be this good. And
Exactly.
what role did I play? It's like
Yeah.
you were born worthy, you got out of your own way, you danced life's dance, you were led, hopefully to some degree, by your heart, not to be selfless. Don't take
Right.
yourself out of the picture. But then the floodgates opened.
Mm. I love it. I love it. And I ask myself that same exact question every single day. What did I do, to deserve all of this? And I'm so grateful for it, but what the heck did I do, right? And you're right, being of service, we get so much more. Not it's so fulfilling within our
Mm,
hearts. It's like that unconditional love when you're serving others, right? And I think
mm,
that, I grew up with the same thing, same belief that limited me, that I need to give and give and give and not receive. And it was so hard for me to
yeah.
receive. And once I let that go, Mike, and that took a lot of work, because growing up as a Hindu, but I think if it was worded differently, like we should be of service, right? If it's worded differently, I think it doesn't feel so dense and heavy and so weighted, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up.
I call it living self-fully, not
Yeah.
selflessly,
No, fully.
self-fully.
I love
Follow
it.
your dreams, follow your passions. Don't be afraid to charge a buck for what you're doing. That
Yeah.
doesn't diminish the service.
Yep.
Um, I mean, look at Elon Musk. That
Yeah.
guy is of service. And yes, he's worth untold billions, and maybe he can be the first trillionaire. I can't say that I agree with a lot of the things he does, but that guy is of service. And
Yeah.
so, and he did it his way, and we can each find our way.
Our way. Yeah, you're right. Wow. Thank you so much, Mike. And I mean, this was such an awakening. I got so many chills as you were talking, and I'm nodding my head. I became a bobblehead because I agreed with everything you were saying. And so thank you so much for being here, being the light that you are in the world. And guys, this book, The Great Awakening, this is your signature blueprint to your spiritual journey to help you move forward to enlightenment. I know many of you feel, non-complacent here on earth. And if you're looking to shift from 3D to 5D and still navigate this life here with happiness and ease, this book, The Great Awakening by Mike Dooley, will help you raise your consciousness to another level of awakening. And there are meditations and instructions to help you move forward. And I put the link in the chat so that you guys could just click on that and grab your copy today. You can pre-order it now, and I'm going to let Mike share with you all the fun free stuff you're going to get along with it.
Well, yeah, if viewers are watching this before October 1, on October 1, four of the channels and myself are going to do a workshop, and it's free admission if you register at tut.com and show your receipt for the book. So you can attend that. We're also giving away swag, coffee mugs, different little paraphernalia that are marked with the Great Awakening on them. And oh my gosh, Daryl Anka channeling Bashar and five of the other channels that comprise the content in this book are each offering through a raffle we're doing at tut.com a free private channeled session, one-on-one, not recorded unless you want to record it, with 6 different winners. So a lot of fun stuff. I mean, I enjoyed talking to these channels, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we let those who support the book in its pre-launch to
Yeah.
acquire it? And if you're watching this after October 1, there's still another workshop coming October 9th, and the big raffle I just mentioned for the private channel sessions will actually happen on October 10th. So purchases that are documented through the enrollment at tut.com will qualify you for not only uh, drawings of swag and workshops, but private sessions with these channels.
Well, I'm really excited. I'm going to grab my book because I want to be part of all of this. And I know some people are commenting. Chirag says, just wow, amazing, Mike. Wish they taught this to schools. Keep up the great work. And
Thank
then
you.
Jane says she's waiting for her book. So there are some people just waiting for their book. And I can't wait. I'll be jumping up and down and celebrating as soon as it comes out and in my hands because I like having books in my hands.
No,
I
Mia.
don't Kindle. So, guys, grab your book and I'll put some more information out there on YouTube, Facebook, and other channels just so we can have our own great awakening. So, thank you so much, Mike.